So, Chris Paul wanted a max deal.
Yeah, he got it.
And then the Rockets had to get rid of Trevor Ariza. Clint Capella wants a fortune.
Yep.
And now they have to get rid of Luka.
Bayamute.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I got you.
So I'm looking at the Rockets, Jim. And I'm gonna lean on you, but Durant, LeBron, Kawhi, they're forwards. And the Rockets just lost their two defensive forwards. Are the Rockets done?
Well, the question is, were the Rockets really built for a long-term sustaining success? Because your second best player is Chris Paul, who's 33, coming off an injury. So you look at teams like Philly and Boston, even Golden State, they're built for long-term success. They still have a ways to go. Houston, honestly, wasn't built like that. And I said that before, that some teams, and you know this, Colin, that whether it's NBA, NFL, they have a great year. And not to say Houston's going to fall off, all the way off. But in reality, you saw one good year out of them. Then they kind of went back to being who they were. I still think Houston can be in the top, 3 or 4 teams. But I don't think that they're the team, especially losing Trevor Ariza. I mean, his defense was so important, how he stretched the floor offensively. And by Mute, you didn't see a lot, but he still had size. He could guard, he could rebound.
Yeah, by the way, you PJ Tucker 6'5.5".
I know. And in this league, we were talking in the hallway. I was saying this, that the West is good. I mean, the West is down. Don't get me wrong. But let's really look at some of the teams. Do you really trust Portland?
Okay, let's do this.
Okay.
Because there is this feeling that it's like in college football, the South is great. No, Alabama's great. Then there's a bunch of good.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's look at the Western Conference. Okay, Portland doesn't get any scoring from their forwards. The Pelicans lost Boogie and Rondo.
That's right.
Utah.
Still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Still trying to figure it out.
And by the way, their best player is Donovan Mitchell, who is a very small guard. Okay, not Ben Simmons, not Magic. You start looking around OKC. Talented, but they can't get out of the first round.
Right.
Minnesota Stars don't like each other. And now Houston has no forwards.
So when people talk about the Lakers and say, well, LeBron James doesn't have A, B, C, and D, I'm like, you know what? You're right. He doesn't have the shooters around him yet. But we just went over 5 to 6 teams that we talk about the West is deep. You going to tell me that LeBron and what he knows and that talent on that team, albeit maybe not the best right now, you don't think that he can be in the top 5 with the Lakers this year in the West? Come on, man. I mean, we haven't seen anything like this. And again, we put so much emphasis saying that the West is so tough. It's so tough. We just gave you 6 teams right there that we got question marks.
And we gave you the best 6 teams.
My point.
You and I are acknowledging Golden State's the best team. I still am going to take the Celtics to win next year because I think it's getting harder and harder and harder, and I think there's fatigue, and I think teams fall apart physically. So I think Boston's going to win the championship, although I do think Golden State has more talent, but I think they'll win the coaching. They'll have a chip on their shoulder, and I do think they'll, in the East, have home court advantage in the finals because they'll play Game 1 and Game 7 in Boston.
But you know what, though? LeBron's, who I think really benefited I'm going to say the most besides the Lakers, that LeBron went west was Golden State. And I'm going to tell you why. Because now, last year, Colin, we talked about Golden State's biggest enemy was going to be complacency.
It was.
LeBron's in the West now. They don't have the luxury of being complacent. So now they got something to focus on. Last year, okay, if Houston gets home court, so what? We good. We can get that. Well, LeBron being in the West, now they will look over their shoulders a little bit more. They won't be as complacent as I think they were last year, that now that he's in the West.
You've always been brutally honest about guys. I'm not a Carmelo guy.
Right.
Okay? Like, I'm not a Westbrook guy, but I get he's great. I get he's 30 points if he wants to score 30 points. Like Carmelo to the Rockets, I think they're trapped. Jimmy, I think they have to go get him. I think Houston, we know this. Daryl Morey runs the Rockets. He's an analytical whiz. He's on the forefront of analytics. Melo's no longer an elite analytic player.
I know.
And of the 82 forwards in the league, he's 72nd in defense for forwards. I think Houston's going to sign him.
Well, they are because what they've lost, they got to make up somehow. And they got to continue to stay relevant in regards to the conversation of being a championship caliber team and beating Golden State. But here's the question. There's 2 questions here. Are you going to be brutally honest with Carmelo when he comes in and says, this is your role? You got to do it. You have to do it from day one and say, you're going to play 20, 25 minutes, whether that's coming off the bench or whatever it is, you got to be honest. Second, Carmelo, and this is so hard, Colin, for a player of his caliber as he gets older. When he looks in the mirror, who does he see? Does he see Carmelo from 10 years ago? Or does he see Carmelo from today? Because that's so important on how you're going to evaluate and move forward. Because you're not – listen, LeBron is an anomaly, bro. I mean, that's a comet coming flying through that we wait to see. Then when it's gone, it's gone. Every player can't do that. As you get older, you got to change your game. But more importantly, Colin, you got to change your mindset.
That's where Dwayne Wade's been a great player.
Yes.
Dwayne acknowledges, listen, man, I can give you about 11 minutes of great a night and about 11 to 12 of okay. And he shifts gears during games. Mm-hmm. Dwayne knows when I can bring it. And we saw this about 4 years ago with LeBron in the playoffs. Like, he was like, listen, I have my moments, but I can't give you 42.
No, I can't. I'm going to pick and choose my spots.
When you were in the NBA, was it hard, good-looking guy, making your money, you've always been the best player, when did you look in the mirror and go, I got to change it upstairs?
Oh, when I sprained my ankle my third year, I think I'm averaging 26. So I think I'm young enough I can come back. But I never really got the same explosion. And then probably when I got to Portland in 98, 99, the lockout year, I came off the bench. That's when I said, you know what? It's not that bad because I got a lot more accolades coming off the bench for a team that went to the finals. We beat Utah that year, got to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Then when I was at Golden State averaging 20-something points the second half of the season. That's when my mindset changed because now I wasn't the same player I was before, mentally or physically. I was better mentally because of what I went through. But then once I gave it up, Sacramento played extremely well. In Houston, I gave it up and gave up what used to be. Now, again, I wasn't on the caliber because of my injury of a Carmelo or Dwayne Wade. But I understand that dilemma you have when you still think you can do what you wanted to do or you did in the past, but your body just won't allow you to do it.
And I think it's harder for players today, Joy. You could chime in here because your brother was a pro athlete. Mm-hmm. You maybe had $15 million in the bank, but when a guy's got $180 million in the bank, man, money makes you think you're bulletproof.
It does.
And money makes you think you're smarter and more successful than everybody around you. Carmelo's got $180 million in the bank, and they're asking him, dude, listen, come off the bench, play 16 minutes. I'm not sure that plays.
But part of the issue, too, though, Colin, is he hasn't been as successful as LeBron.
Right.
You know, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They came in together. So not only are you competing against that yourself, you're competing against that you never really achieved at the highest level, even getting deep in the playoffs, what that feels like to get to a championship game. So he's dealing with age, but he's also dealing with probably a sense of lack of accomplishment. And that's tougher when you get older in age because now you're looking at it like, I don't have a lot of time, but I got to accomplish what I can. So when you're comparing him to other players, he hasn't accomplished that. And that's tough as an athlete to deal with. I don't care how much money you got. Okay, Colin, you can have billions of dollars. But if it's something that you haven't been able to accomplish as a player when you had high expectations, especially for a highly competitive guy, it's hard to deal with, man.
You think the Sixers ever got close with LeBron? Their owner today says it was close.
Well, it's all relative. 20%? Is that close? I mean, from what I hear, it's probably about a 20% chance.
That's not close.
Thank you. But in the owner's mind, because he got a meeting and he's only one or two teams that got one, they were close.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.